Alright, and we are back on it here now. Let's take a quick look here, folks. Just waiting once again for the teams to ready up, specifically waiting on SubQD as well as Yura for their ready ups here at the moment. As soon as these guys are good to go, just getting started, and here we go. Apologize, by the way, if my cast is getting a little bit as my cast is getting a little bit kind of spaced out here at the moment, folks. I've been casting for nearly 7 hours today, and the past 3 of it has been solo. So I'm going to have to ask for your excuses in the event that my casting is getting a little bit spacey here, as I'm starting to get a little bit exhausted. Anyway, though, first game getting started. Last game of the night for me, folks. Taking a look at the opening splits here. The Abjured, Phantom specifically, again, to really, and no one's surprised, is going to be crossing over here to the Henge. This is usually what he does. Also seeing Magic Toker too. We'll go for a connection just off the beach over towards Urantian over here, and we'll actually cut him off. We are still going to see Ozzy attempt at least to get onto the mine point over here, but will actually fail and do so. Doing so, Nas as well as 5Gauge are both going to cut the player off here at the moment, so they will be stopping that and really just pushing him into a corner. Ozzy's got nowhere to go. He's going to get absolutely destroyed by those Kandis there, so very well done, leaving him out to dry, essentially. We're also going to see Yura being heavily chased too. He will probably go into the downstate here, and then back over on mid too as we check that out. We've got Frank going up against Wakey, along with Phantom. Also have Magic Toker coming in here too. So right now looking pretty good for the Abjured here. Abjured's so far doing very well. Managed to lock down both the mine, and they're going to get mid here pretty much effortlessly as well. As we take a look at that here still. Superboy / SubQD is going to get pushed off that node. Probably not going to be able to do much. Might wrap around and try to go for a decap on the mine, but already we're going to probably see guys from the Abjured start to fall back for that. But actually, nope. Superboy does go for a fake fallback here, and will now come back over towards the midpoint. Right now has a nice LOS against Wakey there to stop any Kandis from going off on him, but still Superboy engages with a nice fear chain going off over here onto Wakey. In fact, Wakey's going to be taking a whole load of DPS from this. To switch over to Wakey, has the water attunement ready, but was waiting again for a lot of the Kandis to initially get thrown on him, so that when he does use the cleanse there, he's using it at the right time. This is going to prompt to us to see actually Superboy jump back up onto the top ledge there. He'll probably re-engage in just another second, but again, we have seen Nas here falling back once again too to the mine point, considering there's more pressure coming in from the blue team over there. Nas did go down, but a good res comes off there from Ozzy to keep those guys back and fully mobile for the time being here. And we're once again going to see the fight starting to shift back over here towards mid, as we do have SubKitty pushing in towards that node at the moment. Also to note too, the 1 versus 1 back over here at the Henge is still happening, as we have both Phantom and Frank Underwood both going for that one, as these two are going to continue to skirmish until more reinforcements come, which is going to be happening right now in the form of physics coming over to this point. Phantom too, as you can see, kind of immediately jump off the node there to try and get out of the way of that burst and get himself out of harm's way. But of course, Phantom now has some reinforcements on the way, and they were making an immediate difference here, as Magic Toker comes in there with a huge amount of DPS to burst down over onto Frank Underwood there. Will be taking him out of play, and Phantom going immediately for the stomp there to knock him out. Back over here at the midpoint too to check things out that are happening over here. We actually have a little bit of action in the mid courtyard, as the Superboy and Wakey are duking it out here, and we're also seeing Ozzy trying to escape from 2 players on the side of the Abjured. Both 5Gauge and Nos are pursuing Ozzy at the moment, and probably are going to kill him before he even gets to this node here. Right now, again, it's all kind of on off topic at the moment. The Dankening, unfortunately, really just aren't doing all that well here. The rotations are a bit questionable. There seems to be a bit of a question as to like where they're actually trying to push. They've got 2 guys in the back here killing Toker, but on the front end of things, they managed to score a decap at the mine, and they've got 2 guys down in the mid courtyard that were trying to push up to the midpoint. So overall, I'm a bit confused as to what the strategy is trying to be right now for the Dankening. It seems as though it is shifting into a side point strategy now, so they're getting it together a little bit and kind of trying to make the best of a bad situation. But definitely, I do have to say that the Abjured has been doing a pretty darn good job with actually kind of apologies. The Abjured has been doing a pretty darn good job with actually kind of keeping things stalemated, as it were. They're doing a very nice job of keeping things to the status quo, keeping the chaos going too on the side of the Dankening. The more they keep them split up, the harder it's going to be for them to regroup and kind of reassess their strategy, because in order for a team, usually when they get behind, a team needs to kind of think, all right, where's everyone at now? And considering those things, what's going to be the best option for us to push, considering everyone's current position and considering everyone's kind of viability to get to a certain spot on the map. If everyone's split up, no one can really get anywhere. That's the problem, because they're going to have someone and they're going to bring someone with them wherever they go. So unfortunately, for the guys on the Dankening here, they're being followed all over the map at the moment, and they're being split up. This is another case of it right here. You got 2 guys, one's probably going to go down soon, back over here at the Henge, and one is already down. You've got 2 guys kind of pushing in the mid, and 1 guy's pushing far. So unfortunately, they're not really going to be able to regroup all that well. They're not going to be able to coordinate their efforts, and with that in mind, Abjured's just going to continue to split these guys up time after time, and considering Abjured already has a strategy that's working, they don't really have to worry about being split up. Abjured knows where everyone is. They're the ones who are causing the splitting up to begin with. So they're together, they have the coordinated plan, and they know what's happening here. here in the grand scheme of things, so Abjured's not really worried about it. It's going to be the Dankening that has to worry about it, obviously, as they're falling behind very rapidly and very quickly here in this current matchup. 270 to 250, or apologies, 270 to 51 being the current score at the moment in favor of the guys on the Abjured here, with them closing in on the 300-point gap. The Dankening needs to move very quickly here, otherwise their chances of actually getting back into this game are going to be slim to none, as once again this score increases without any sign of slowing down in the favor of the Abjured. Decap was just claimed back over here at the mine in favor of the Dankening. Both Yura and Rocketry/Physics were here for this one. Nas as well as Wakey both off node there. Just pulled back for a couple seconds. I believe Nas came under a little bit of pressure and they just wanted to play it safe, so they let Nas get into a safe spot, let him get to a point where he was able to pop off his heal, and now we're going to see him immediately re-engage here onto Yura specifically, and this will force Yura off the top. Nas will also jump down here too, and I think actually Physics pulls him down, so yeah, they've got the truck roll on him. They're going to take Nas in the down state now as they attempt to go for the kill over onto him. Wakey also here in play as well. Stomp coming out from Yura onto Nas will execute without any trouble whatsoever, leaving only Wakey to defend. Wakey, I should note, does actually have both these players somewhat low at this point, but with Yura getting off his strong point, and I think Physics as well shouldn't really have to worry about this too much. And actually, nope, cancel that, as we do have 5-gauge entering this engagement too now, and unfortunately for the guys in the Dankening, with both their players being this low at this point, I doubt they're going to be able to rally from this. However, let's take a look at Ozzy. Does Ozzy have a banner? Ooh, 20 seconds away from a banner cooldown here. If these guys can actually survive for just a little bit longer, there may be hope just yet. At the same time, though, we do now see Rocketry going into the downstage till 12 seconds away from being able to pop off a banner, so that's really not going to be happening here. It's not going to be an option. However, it might be one for Uraz. He's going to be the next prime target, and I don't know if they're aware of Ozzy's banner coming off cooldown here very soon. It's really hard to kind of keep track of those sorts of cooldowns. It's definitely something that you should be keeping track of as a team, but overall, it's going to be an incredibly hard thing to overall pace, and actually, to a very educated decision, Ozzy's going to choose to not use the banner right there. He's going to save it, and they're going to fall back towards mid to regroup here. I think that's a very educated decision, considering the fact that, again, had they have even gotten Yura up with that banner, more than likely, like, even if they had let him get him up, it probably wouldn't have done much, because they were on the losing end of that fight. Even with Yura in play, it would have been an outnumbered engagement, so I don't really feel that rezzing up Yura and getting him back into the fight would have worked to their favor overall. I think it would have actually hurt them more than it would have helped them, because they would have essentially lost the banner without it doing anything besides, like, kind of delaying the cap there. So it's good to save it, just kind of save it for the next big fight here, and hopefully they can use it to turn this next mid fight around into their favor if they end up falling behind in it. So speaking of which, this next mid fight has been initiated. Blue team on the defensive here, whereas Abjured is looking to get a complete lockdown on the Dankening, taking these guys out of the play completely. Back over here at the Henge too, we've got 5-gauge moving in along with the 5-gauge here, along with Phantom to take out your anti, and should have any trouble executing that deed there and successfully defending this Henge node here, as yours just kind of getting tossed all around. Not many places for him to go and circumnavigate this point, as we check out what's happening on mid too to see not much progress on either end of the spectrum, but that's not the worst thing in the world for Abjured. As we said, they still control the 2 points. They're still overall extending their lead gap even more here, so at this current point in time, they're not worried about winning the mid fight. What this is to them is this is a distraction. They want to be here. They want to keep this fight going for as long as possible. I could even almost insinuate at this point that they may purposefully not be going for kills. They might just be trying to do enough damage to lock them down and then force them back into the fight itself, because at this point, keeping this fight going is a benefit to them, because it keeps them corralled in this point. It keeps them sort of just sitting here stable, and as they're not moving away from this, they don't have to worry about back caps. They don't have to worry about losing the fight and so on and so forth. So I think it's kind of a good thing that right now the Abjured are losing this fight, almost just because of the fact that they made it go on for so long. That, and as well, considering how quickly they're actually going to pull back from this one, I don't think they really have to worry about decaps too much. 450 to 172. I mean, even if we saw the decaps there too, again, they're less than 50 points away. They kill the bosses, and the game's over. So the Abjured's not worried at all at this point. This is just, again, I'm pretty sure this is all part of the plan right now. Back over at the Henges, we have seen the blue team making a push for this one. We have Superboy and 2 other players from the blue team pushing into this one. The Abjured has, for the most part, decided to just go back towards the mine and kind of turtle that one. They are pushing out from that one, and they have moved most of the players from the blue team away from this one. Everyone on the blue team is now accounted for, so they can afford to push back here towards mid. As you can see here right now, we got a couple more players from the blue team going down too, as again, the Abjured takes that very slow approach to combat, just kind of weaning them down over time here, and it's working very well for them, as they have managed to take down Yura. They will waste yet another banner in trying to get Yura, I shouldn't say waste, apologies. They use yet another banner trying to get Yura back up from the grave there, and he's now back up, putting some more pressure onto 5-gauge, but 5-gauge just is not taking any damage, and with him sitting at pretty much full health here, there's not much of a risk overall here for him being lost. Back in mid, Wakey being focused down by both Frank Underwood and Rocketry here at the moment, with Magic Toker assisting from the sidelines. Magic Toker is probably going to be losing his teammate, but he might try to go for this res here. We have an SR down, a lot of deeps. Oh my goodness, can't even see it. A lot of deeps going on to Magic Toker here at the moment too, so he might find himself getting burst down, but even so, at the end of the day, it's not even going to matter, folks. We are going to see the Abjured take game number 1 in their favor meaning they're now only going to be one victory away from taking this week's tournament, as well as walking home with $400 as well as top qualification points to be used for the monthly, and as well eliminating the Dankening, sending them home with only $100 and the second place gems, as well as the second place qualification points. We've already loaded into Legacy, folks. Very short music break here while we are waiting once more for these players to load back in, get on their teams, and then we'll be coming back to you immediately with game number 2 in this set between the Abjured and the Dankening to decide who's going to win the ESL Weekly North American Go4GuildWars2 Cup number 13. Back in just a couple seconds.
A throwback to Guild vs. Guild from the original Guild Wars, the legacy of the Foefire has teams vying for control of 3 score-generating counterpoints. Locked away within each team's keep resides the Guild Lord. Killing the enemy team's Guild Lord will grant your team 150 points, potentially swaying the outcome of the match. The first team to 500 points wins.
And for possibly the last time tonight, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the ESL Go4GuildWars2 North America Finals. It's the Abjured versus the Dankening here, where Abjured currently leads the set after winning a decisive game 1 in their favor. We already have players all over the board, and we already have someone going into the downstate here now too, as we have Physics falling down. Frank Underwood trying to go for the res onto that here, but it's looking like it might be a bit tough for them to pull off. 5-gauge offering a lot of DPS here too. Booby Trap does go off, but it's not going to be offering enough in order to save his own life there, so we will be seeing Rocketry getting knocked out first, and possibly possibly a very early opening 2-cap for these guys on the Abjured here at the moment as they get very close to kind of emptying out what's over here at the mid for the guys from the Dankening. Heading back over to the waterfall, we did actually see Wakey getting forced away from this node despite the fact that Phantom and Wakey had pushed onto that there. Superboy / Supkitty is going to be chasing those guys back over to mid, but at the same time, there's really not much at mid for the Dankening to really rally upon there as Frank Underwood has recently fallen down. Ozzy also getting somewhat low here too, which means the pressure from the red team is going to immediately just pile drive the remaining members of the Dankening that are within vicinity to the waterfall here, so they need to be very careful and get their defenses ready here because everyone from mid is probably going to be on their way to the waterfall here in just a few moments. Also to note here too, we did see a back cap attempt succeed back over here from Physics / Rocketry. He's going to be coming in and sealing that node away for free. Might get a full cap here too. We do have Phantom along with Nos chasing him to this node, so unfortunately when he gets into that 1v2, his odds of survival are going to be slimming by a pretty big amount, but of course it looks like he's going to take the preservative route and try to move away from this fight, handing it back over to the control of the red team. Back over at the waterfall too, Yura has fallen down as well as Supkitty there. A bit of a wipe in favor of the red team there, so they're going to be taking full control of this node once again under their own banner here in just a couple seconds, and it's looking like the Abjured in just a few moments here will start to come ahead. Frank Underwood, I should note, has actually gotten back on mid and stopped the full cap from happening right there, so they are going to be in a good spot to save themselves. Ozzy here now too, so blue team is still keeping things decapped, but even so, across the rest of the map, the Abjured controls it. So once again, we're kind of in a similar spot to where we were with a lot of the DoD games that we just saw played earlier there. Apologies if because of the fact that again the blue team had been focusing so heavily on mid and had been focusing so heavily on other fights here, we just allowed Abjured to rotate around pretty easily and cap the other two side nodes, so it is a bit unfortunate. I would like to note, however, that again the Dankening is not letting themselves get tripped up by this at all here. In fact, they've rotated extremely fast to some of these other nodes here. Ozzy, as you take a look at him here, he's getting bursted down, but again he's supported by plenty of his teammates, so there's still a pretty good chance that even if he does go down, they might get a chance to get him back up and into play here now. Wakey coming in, actually got to cancel that because he's going to stomp him out pretty easily now, and the rest of red team is kind of rallying in here too, trying to hold on to their 3-cap as they're very quickly approaching a pushback of the entire blue team into the blue base now. Rocketry and Superboy both trying to push out from their base to get back on the mid, but it's really not happening here at the moment. Red team as well, just pushing the blue team back one by one. They've managed to reattain the 3-cap, and less than 4 minutes into this game now, we see the red team over 150 points and with a lockdown 3-cap, sending everyone from the Dankening back into base. This is not good at all at the moment. Now again, they have pushed a little bit too aggressively as we take a look back here in mid. We did actually see an almost attempted a decap there. They're most definitely, actually apologies, I have to cancel that because Phantom managed to counter out Frank Underwood back over here at the quarry, so Ozzy's going to try and assist that with Phantom, but I doubt the 2v1 with the two players consisting of Ocelli is actually going to do enough to knock out Phantom. 5 gauge coming over to this point as well is most definitely going to even things out here and give Phantom what he needs to survive. Rocketry will come in as a third Celly player for the blue team to assist that, but again, without any significant amount of burst, we're really just not going to be seeing I don't think, any progress made in blue team's favor, but of course that could all change soon as we do have the potential for Supkitty to come into this if Supkitty isn't disconnecting at the moment. Oh, no, looked like he was just lagging there for a second, I suppose. But again, the blue team is actually sort of repelling the guys from the Abjured away from this node. Phantom, of course, under a lot of pressure now that the rest of the members of the Abjured had to fall back to either regenerate themselves or kind of get away from this one. Decap has also been gained now for the Dankening, so they are starting to get their way back onto the board, but actually Phantom's not dead just yet. Toker trying to go for a full res on a Phantom at the moment, is taking the deeps here from it too, so they're going to get Phantom back up. They've also got Rocketry pushed into a corner here too, so as we take a look at him to see how he's doing, it looks like he's going to be alright for the time being. So blue team not out of this one just yet. Also to note too, we are going to see them getting their home node back pretty much for free, and I would like to pass this on as a side note too, as they didn't get a chance to iterate upon this before the match actually started. I would have expected specifically Yura to switch over to a Power Ranger for this matchup, but it seems as though he's decided against this, which I don't necessarily agree with. I kind of think that they would have had a better chance of on this map if they had gone with a Power Ranger, because part of the issue here, at least off of my own observations for the Dankening at the moment, is the fact that they don't have DPS, unfortunately. This could have been solved by either having Supkitty play on his Mesmer here. Granted, again, that would have been very hard because, again, because of the fact that Matty Toker is very good as his SD Thief, and SD Thief is a direct counter to Mesmer, so I can definitely sympathize with why we have seen Supkitty play a Necromancer in this set instead of a Mesmer there. But at the same time, we could have also seen Yura playing on the Power Ranger there. I think he got kind of scared out of it because of the way that the last game went here, and he just wanted to play something that he can, like I hate to put it this way, but he wanted to like play something that he could screw up more on and like not get punished as hardly, because on the Power Ranger, you need to be playing top notch all the time if you want to play it in high tier Guild Wars, and unfortunately it's very unforgiving when you make mistakes here. If you use a cooldown at the wrong time, if you dodge at the incorrect time and you don't have enough for a big dodge or something like that, then you're really going to screw up. On a build like this, you're a lot tankier, you're based mainly more on con damage, which tends to be a little bit more forgiving and a little bit easier to play with there. So I think that's why he's chosen to roll with this build here, is just because of the fact that game 1 didn't go so well. I think he wanted to play a safer build. I don't really think that's the correct choice, however, just because of the fact that as I iterated upon a few moments ago, one of the main issues, at least that I have noticed for the Dankening, is just a complete lack of damage here on these guys. They don't have enough DPS, direct DPS, that I should say, to knock these guys off of a lot of these guys into the downstate, and that tends to be the big problem with them. Anyway, heading back into the fight itself, we have another 1v1 back over here on Waterfall. It's going to be between Yura and 5Gauge here. We'll come back to this one in a little bit, as it's selling on selling, and we'll take some time before we see a result from that one. Blue team is stuck kind of between a rock and a hard place here. They've got full control of the quarry node, but they got to keep in mind that it's actually Abjured's home node, so if they kill anyone from the Abjured, there is the chance that it's going to get backup from them, and they've got to constantly be aware of that and constantly checking it too, and constantly keeping their eyes on Magic Tokrius. He's probably going to be the one to attempt that pretty shortly here. As soon as he goes out of eyesight, someone needs to keep their eyes on that back point. In fact, that's already happened with Ozzy. But the problem is that, again, it's not actually going to be Magic Toker that falls back over towards that node. Thankfully, they corrected this very quickly when they caught on to the fact that Magic Toker went to Waterfall instead of Quarry, but still, you constantly have to be aware of that, and that does cause a little bit of duress on the side of the Dankening here. But moving back into this midpoint here to see what is happening, they've actually got a nice lockdown going on to Fanta at the moment. He's trying to get away, and well, it was a bit buggy there, but Fanta is going to be escaping this midpoint here, should be able to get away from it anyway, and we're looking at blue team might be able to start making some progress here in mid. They're going to have to be they're going to push themselves into a 3 versus 3, however, as you've got Superboy and Rocketry along with Physics here, and at the same time too, Phantom managing to juke around the members of the blue team is going to be rotating back to this quarry node where Ozzy will roll in, stopping the decap, granted, but of course Phantom, with now him having very little chance to actually get that decap, he's going to decide, yep, this ain't worth it, and then he'll be rolling back to mid once again. Superboy slash Supkitty there. Phantom's going to be like, oh look, a free kill, and finds Supkitty sitting over here, but we will see the Fear Me coming off. Good props to Ozzy there on saving that for his teammate, because it actually might get him back up, and indeed, it shall, as we're going to see Supkitty getting back up now, saving his life. Good job there by Ozzy once again, and now once more, that's going to be a lot more Connie damage they'll have to deal with. The Dankening now is a 2-cap, and while I don't believe that 2-cap, and most definitely actually, will not be enough for them to get back into this game at this current point in time, the Abjured can actually win just through holding the midpoint if they so choose. But they are definitely going to put the Abjured in a bit of an awkward position now, because you can see they're putting the pressure on them back over here at the waterfall, and this is still a fairly aggressive Abjured considering the circumstances. They've got the full cap here, they're engaged in a 2 versus 2 here, but Abjured is confident in their ability to win off this waterfall node. They need to keep in mind though that if they lose this, and if they lose it quickly enough, then that snowball is going to continue onwards back into mid, and they may lose the mid node as well, which really could start the comeback in favor of the Dankening here. But I think that they at least are considering themselves safe, and it seems at least for now that was quite a calculated risk that seems to be paying off well. 5Gauge and the slightly detached 1 versus 1 there versus Yura ended up winning off versus that one, meaning they now have 2 versus 1 unrestricted DPS going over here onto Frank Underwood, so they should have no trouble executing him, and now we'll start their path to take back control of this node. Urantian isn't even going to contest it. In fact, he's on his way back to mid, hoping to get a surprise decap off here. Unfortunately, Rocketry's fighting a bit close to the point, so I don't believe we're going to see that happen, and indeed that's going to be the case here. Now, Yura gets on there, gets a little bit of the decap, but almost immediately after that, Wakey and 5 Magic Toker jump right back onto that node and stop that decap progress from happening here. As well, the Quarry has also been decapped away from the control of the Dankening. They still have player control of it, but again, it's Phantom there, and Phantom specializes in surviving versus 1v2s and 1v3s and so on and so forth, so it was a smart move here now to have Supkitty move away from this and go to mid instead, where they're going to have a better chance of actually ending a team fight there. Ozzy and Fanta will probably fight until the end of time, or until someone else decides they want to come over there and support that fight. Back on mid, 5Gauge has gone into the downstate here now. Nas trying to go for a res on that as well, and they will get him back up and into the play here. Yura as well starting to get a bit low on the blue team side, and Wakey Tao get back at full health. Will be free to CC members of the blue team. Yura getting dangerously low here. A lot of Kanye's getting tossed onto him, and Wakey with the final kill will throw him into the downstate. Also getting a combo kill off over there on the Physics too. Going to take both of those guys down here at the moment, taking them out of play. The rest of the blue team really nowhere to be found, so they're not going to be going for those reses. In fact, we have seen Superboy starting to fall back. I should mention that we did see Ozzy beat Fanta in that 1 versus 1 over there to take him out of play. And we are now going to be seeing the Dankening taking a 2-cap on the sides once again, but once more as well, we're just 60 seconds away from seeing the Abjured win just through purely turtling middle, and that at this current time seems to be the very likely scenario. So I don't like to toss out early congratulations, but I believe we may be looking at one here, folks. Not only is the Abjured probably going to have a good chance of holding on to their control of the middle point, but as well they are getting very close to taking control of the waterfall point here too. With us seeing Frank Underwood getting knocked out, we have 2 more reinforcements on the way, but they're going to redirect towards mid and not contest that. So at the end of the day, guys, it's looking like we're going to be having the Abjured take game number 2 as well as game number 1. So congratulations indeed to the Abjured. They're going to be winning this week as well. Apologies. They're going to be winning this week as well as, again, they've won plenty of weeks before this, but Abjured will continue their streak here at the ESL North American Go4GuildWars2 Cup. Congratulations indeed. They'll be taking home $400 for their team this week, and they'll be sending home the Dankening with only $100. The Dankening, of course, will also be receiving 2,000 gems per player in our third place team. Not sure who they are just yet, but they will also be receiving 800 gems per player. That, however, guys, once again, is going to be the end of this week's tournament. So we'd like to thank you all very, very much for tuning in. I do apologize once again, guys, for the audio issues and me being extraordinarily loud or my mic cutting out and all that. Like I said, I have an audio board over here, but it seems to have freaked out on me today, so I'm going to have to play with it after the stream. Didn't really have time to screw around with it while the stream was going on. So I'll be fixing that hopefully for next week. If not, probably gonna have to get a new one. But anyway, guys, thanks for bearing with me today on the audio issues. Thanks for bearing with me all throughout today too with the solo casting. I know it can get a bit weird sometimes as my casting stutters off a bit when I'm solo casting. I've been going for about 7.5 hours today, so finally it's over though. So I get to take a big old break after this one. But once more, folks, thank you all very much for tuning in this week. As a reminder, for the last time today, I'm going to put the link in the chat as soon as I go to my break here too. The Guild Wars 2 is currently on sale. The sale ends tonight. If you're interested in picking up the game, now's the best time because it's on sale for $10. Or if you're interested in buying a second account or third account, I bought 2 accounts with this. So if you guys want to go ahead and pick up the game right now is the best time. Buy it before the sale ends. Like I said, it's on sale for $10 right now. I'll go ahead and put a link in the chat before I end the stream here today where you guys can go ahead and find that. If not, again, hopefully you would tune in and be convinced some other week. But thanks, guys, once more for tuning in to this cup. Thanks as well for tuning in earlier to the European Cup. If you watched it, just as a reminder, there are kind of lower level cups that happen on Thursday nights. If you're interested in playing on the North American version of that, it's hosted by my organization called Mizpedia. It happens on Thursday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. You can sign up for that over at battlefy.com/Mizpedia. If you're interested in playing on the European version as well, that's also hosted by ESL. You can sign up for that over at play.eslgaming.com/Guild Wars2. Is where you can sign up for that one. That one happens at Thursday nights at 2 p.m. Eastern Time or 20 CET. Thanks once more, folks, for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you next time.